Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Welcome back to a long overdue continuation of my Dragon Hoard series. The last video in the series was actually a combination with 4E Fridays to go over their Dragon Best of Dragon annual. But let's get back into the actual chronology of magazines that I have in my collection. So today we're going to be taking a look at issue number 289 from November of 2001. So almost 24 years ago, which is, I feel old just thinking about that. This is the Oriental Adventures issue, so this would have been the main release, the main hardcover book release for D&D 3rd edition at the time. We are still well into the 3.0 territory. But yeah, let's take a look. We got to the Kung Fu 1,000 or 10,000 moves, 3 movies, and 3 classic combos, 3 ninja prestige classes, supersize your monster. I'm interested in this one, level up your longsword. That one might be kind of interesting to take a look at. So again, we're not going to focus on every single article or anything like that. We're just going to go through and kind of see what's in here, but I do want to take a look at the prestige classes a little bit, and definitely this longsword one. So, taking a look inside, let's see what we've got for advertisements. Asheron's Call, Dark Majesty. Never heard of that one. So this must be a PC game. If you played it, let me know. We got our table of contents here. Again, they kind of use a floor plan. I guess like this Japanese building. I'm not as well versed in Asian culture and mythology as I am European history and mythology and all that stuff. But anyway, still kind of cool. I like the map idea behind the table of contents. I wonder how long before that kind of goes away. Magic the Gathering Odyssey. So a new set for the Magic the Gathering game. Stronghold. Oh my god, am I gonna eco? Okay. Oh! Okay, yeah. Didn't this game take forever to come out, or am I thinking of a different one? Anyway. We got our letter column, Sword and Sorcery. I actually have Relics and Rituals. So this was a third party. This is like a division of White Wolf. It was kind of like their a division that they spun off to create stuff for D&D using the OGL. They also got the license to produce stuff for Ravenloft in the 3rd edition era of Dungeons and Dragons. So they put out the Ravenloft books. They're decent. I did like Relics and Rituals. I say the downside is that they were kind of produced a bit on the cheaper side of things. I can't speak for the Ravenloft books, but most of these other ones were black and white, and so just black and white, and which is fine, but you kind of want a little bit of color artwork in your books. At least I do. When it comes to the paying for the 3rd edition, the hardcover books in particular, we're always for 3rd edition we're always full color, except for the Arms and Equipment Guide. But anyway, Relics and Ritual had some cool stuff in there for sure. Knights of the Not So Round Table. One of these days we'll go through some of the letters, and you'll see that the gaming community was always as super cranky as they are today. So some releases coming out. We've got for November. Oh, so Oriental Adventures must have came out the previous month. So November we've got Deep Horizon, a D&D adventure. I think that was part of the series that takes you from level 1 to level 20. Lords of Darkness, Forgotten Realms accessory. This book was awesome. I do have this one. December, Song and Silence, which I recently picked up. So we got some of our splat books and some novels and things coming out there. The Wheel of Time role-playing game. A friend of mine had this, or has this, I'm assuming he still does. And we never actually got a chance to play it. I read the first Wheel of Time book, but I never got any further into the series after that. And I know that things started to get really drawn out, where I think there was one book, it was the same few days of time just from different characters' points of view, and I can't remember if that extended over to multiple books taking place over the same period and just kind of restarting and going from different characters' perspectives. But anyway, the first book was pretty cool, but I never got any further into it after that. We got our Nodwick strip there. That's actually a pretty cool looking dragon statue. Geez, this letter section is actually pretty long. Oh my goodness. It ends here though, because that's what the D means. But man, and the Star Wars D20 role-playing game. So this was kind of an interesting thing. They were putting out books to coincide with like the prequel movies, but they also did a revision, which I think they did it in like 2002. So hopefully we'll see some advertisements for that. But basically, the revision to the Star Wars role-playing game was sort of the testing ground for what would become some of the changes to 3.5. And it's kind of interesting to see how like that kind of came about. And then years later, with Paizo in particular, the Starfinder role-playing game introduced a few elements that would become Pathfinder 2nd Edition. It's not quite as one-to-one as the Star Wars one was to the D&D 3.5, but it was just kind of interesting how like these science fantasy role-playing games get revised or get created and have rules changes that are part of like the next version of the fantasy line. So anyway, just one of those weird sort of coincidences, I guess. We got the Lord of the Rings miniatures game. I wish I'd gotten more into this. I picked up a set of the Urukai just to have as orc minis, but I never did get anything else. And I've actually watched some gameplay videos of this tabletop battle game, and it's pretty cool. Like it seems like it'd be a lot of fun to play, but I never got into it. Warlord Saga of the Storm. So this is actually really cool. So this was a card game that used the D20 system, and you had like different ranks. So you had like your front rank, you had your second rank, and then you had your warlord, I think, in like the third rank. And to summon or to add creatures, basically I think you had to do it like evenly, so that there was more of your rank 1 people in rank 1 than there were in rank 2, and there had to be more people in rank 2 than in rank 3. You had like equipment and stuff that you could put on there. It was a really fun game. They're actually re-releasing it, like a 2nd edition version of it. And I actually have pre-ordered the deck set, or the box with all the pre-con decks in it, which is probably about as deep as I'll get into it. I also ordered a booster box, which I'm just going to keep sealed. But yeah, this was a really fun game. So it's cool to see it coming back. The Dark Age Camelot. I know I'm focusing on like the advertisements, but so far that's kind of all we've been coming across. Morrowind. I used to have this on my original Xbox before I gave it away. Now that's an ad for Dragon Warrior 8, where most of the page is blank. You just got little screenshots. I don't know. I don't think I like this ad. I think it just leaves. I mean, I guess it's supposed to create the sense that there's like this unknown, but I don't know. Don't like it. All right, here we go. History of the Ninja. So we've got the black-clad assassins. Actually, this is actually kind of neat. So I think this is like an actual real-world history. I'm not going to go over it here in this video, but I plan on reading this. At the time I'm recording this, I just watched Predator Killer of Killers, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not a fan of the animation style because it's got that sort of like janky movement sort of stuff to it that like the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse movies had. I will say that I didn't notice it as the movie went on, but the middle section with the brothers, the two brothers, the one who becomes a ninja and the one who was like a samurai, that was my favorite part of the whole movie. So anyway, yeah, I'll definitely have to check out that article at some point just to get a bit more of like the actual history there. You got some ninja weapons, some D&D novels, Silent Warrior, so 3 new ninja classes. Alright, so we got the Poison Fist, which is a monk class, monk prestige class, I'm assuming. Where are our prereqs? There's our class features. Class requirements. Okay, any non-good alignment would make sense. I think you actually had to used to be evil to use poison back in the day. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Base attack bonus +3, hide 8 ranks, intimidate 5 ranks. Move silently 8 ranks. Have to have the feats dodge, which is a really crappy feat, but it is a prereq for a lot of other stuff. Improved unarmed strike, great fortitude, mobility, stunning fist, or monk's stunning attack. Special, in addition, she must choose one of the 3 poison fist clans, so snake, scorpion, or spider. Okay. I don't think I'm going to go through too much of this one. They get poison use and sneak attack. They get bonuses to like acrobatics. They could take on a totem form, which I'm assuming is like their clan. So it's kind of like a wild shape type of thing. Venomous blow twice per day. I mean, it's interesting, I think, in concept, but I mean, poison in 3rd edition got really scaled back quite a bit. There's some decent poison out there, but like at the levels that, like the low levels that you're playing to start these prestige classes, you're not going to have access to them. Then we got the Ghostface Killers. So the class features here, they are proficient characters take this level of Ghostface Killer, gain proficiency in all simple and martial weapons with light armor. Note that armor check penalties apply. Okay, so this must be more of a fighter type. Base attack bonus +5. Yeah, that definitely feels more like a fighter, or maybe a... Well, high at 6 ranks is not a lot. Is not nothing. So maybe it's not a fighter. I wonder which class this works with best. Death blow, improved initiative, power attack, quick draw. I mean, he definitely would want to be a fighter to get those feats or to have access to those feats, but some of those ranks, man, those are up there. So maybe this is more of a thief class, actually. But base attack +5, you still have to be quite up there. I don't know, maybe a ranger? A ranger could work with this, I guess. So they get beyond sight. A Ghostface Killer of 1st level or higher can cast invisibility as a sorcerer of level equal to the Ghostface Killer, so level 1. Use this ability as a move equivalent action, and it functions only for the Ghostface Killer. The Ghostface Killer may use beyond sight a number of times equal to their level. That's not great. Oh, it's not even every level, is it? It seems to be like every other level. That's not worth it. Invisibility is okay, but it's regular invisibility, so it goes away the second you do anything. And it's not even once per level. Like, being able to do it 10 times per day is not even as broken as it might sound. But anyway, they get third level, they get death attack. So at 3rd level or higher, Ghostface Killer has the ability to make a devastating death attack. So it's just like the Assassin's attack. You have to study them for 3 rounds, and then they get a fortitude save. DC 10 plus the Ghostface Killer's class level plus their intelligence modifier. Sounds better than it is, unfortunately. Frightful attack, you can make them, I guess, you know, they get scared. If they fail a will save. Beyond touch is a standard action. The Ghostface Killer can become incorporeal. That's a good ability, to become incorporeal, so that gives you a 50% miss chance for anything that's not, like, force-based. And you can also, like, phase through solid matter, so you can, like, walk through walls and stuff like that. So that's actually pretty good. At 8th level, the Ghostface Killer has supernatural ability to see ethereal creatures within 20 feet. That's not bad either. And then Spirit Sword at 7th level, the Ghostface Killer can imbue a melee weapon with the Ghost Touch special ability. That's okay too. I mean, they get some decent abilities. The Death Attack is alright, but not super worth it. Again, like in 3rd edition, unless you're going off on your own, typical combats only last about 3 rounds in like 3rd edition D&D. So by the time you get to use that ability, the fight's already over. The Beyond Sight, the ability to turn invisible, I mean, it's okay. I do think once per level would have been fine, instead of once for every 2nd level. So you get one at 1st, you get an extra one at 3rd, and then 5th, 7th, and 9th. But it's regular invisibility. Like, if it actually improved up to, like, improved invisibility, like if that was like the 10th level ability, which it's not, but if that were like the 10th level ability, to be able to do it as like improved invisibility, because that's one where it lasts for a lot shorter, but you don't immediately become visible if you make attacks or stuff like that. That would have been a good addition to this class. But yeah, anyway, and then we get the Weightless Foot. So the prereqs for that is a non-chaotic, non-evil, base attack +4, reflex save +2, balance 8 ranks, climb 4. I mean, it's weird to figure out which classes fit this the best. Because most prestige classes are designed that you can obtain them by like level 6. It might involve some multi-classing and things like that. So I guess for some of these, you may want to actually take like level 1 as like a rogue, or like 2 levels of rogue class. Because you could have 4 ranks in hide at level 1. And then it'll be easier to get up to those like 6 ranks later on. But yeah, it's interesting to see how these ones are kind of... I actually kind of like these ones a little bit more because they're not as clear like which class this would benefit the most from this. But this also feels kind of like a monk when they get Leap the Clouds, Light Step, Spring Attack, Acrobatics. Yeah, I mean, what do we got here? Purity of Body, Tri-Layer. These are just dry feet. A weightless foot of the 5th level or higher can cast Water Walk. Yeah, I mean, they're neat, they're thematic. They're not the worst prestige classes that I've seen. Actually, I think these would make for some really good NPCs. Again, I think most prestige classes just work better for NPCs than they do for player characters, because it's a way to give NPCs something unique that like player characters just wouldn't necessarily go for. The good old Chainmail game, the starter set. I love Chainmail. I thought it was such a great game. Leveled treasures. Okay. So, the concept, the key to solving problems lies in allowing items to grow and improve as their owners advance levels. So this is something that I did in a D&D campaign for 3.5, and I made these like level progression tables for the items, and then like a week later, the Weapons of Legacy was announced. But this one, it looks like you have to exchange experience points to level up the item. So level magic items are weapons, shields, blah blah blah. Once a character has possession of the weapon, you can begin devoting experience points to improve it. The experience point cost to activate a higher level comes from the leveled magic item XP chart. Experience points can be given to an item at any time, but powers are not available until the full amount is met. So it's interesting. So you get the equivalent bonus of +2. You have to be level 5. For a weapon, you have to give 1,600 experience points. You have to give 800 experience points at level for armor. I mean, again, this is kind of interesting. Because like you get to create the item the way that you want to, but you're also giving up a lot of experience points. Oh, it's total. Okay, it's running total. That's not that bad. This is not a bad way of doing things. I mean, you'd want to basically give everybody in the party this type of items that they could dedicate experience, because like you're gonna have, if you have one player that has an item that they're giving experience points to, they're gonna start falling behind. But I kind of like the concept, actually. I like it a lot more than the legacy weapons. The legacy weapons were cool in concept. Like, I like the idea of needing to like perform a ritual which has like component costs and stuff like that to improve the weapon, but most of the legacy weapons also have you losing things, like taking a penalty on all of your saving throws, or taking a penalty to attack to use this magic weapon. So this is actually kind of a cool idea. I don't know if I would end up using it or not, but I do kind of like the idea. I like this better than the legacy approach. We'll just put it that way. Epic fantasy role-playing Palladium. Oof. The fantastic world of Hong Kong cinema. Okay, so this is, I guess, just some suggestion for different movies to watch, to understand the Oriental Adventure sourcebook, I guess, a little bit more. Thunder and Fire, the world of kaiju. Here we go. I'm not going to go through and reading this, but it looks like the ability to create a kaiju. So the creature's base size, total AC, alteration. Do they give an example of one here? I hope they do. Kaiju feats. I mean, I think like the Tarrasque could be considered a kaiju. Oh yeah, here we go. Hotu Baquette. Half-fiend kaiju monstrous huge centipede. It's just kind of a template, I guess, that gets applied. It's interesting. But you got a kaiju boule, colossal. There we go. That's a little bit better. They actually had a kaiju carrion crawler in Age of Worms as well. The Playful Phoenix Fist. Oh, a name generator for martial arts movies. Oh my goodness. Okay. We're not going to bother with that, but still kind of neat. We actually have like class combinations. Yeah, alright. So martial artists, so this is like a multi-class, so you take monk, fighter. So multi-classing, I'm not a fan of multi-classing in 3rd edition. The same way I'm not a fan of multi-classing in 5th edition. But the one thing that I will say is, like, people will cherry-pick levels of things in order to get some of the item. Like, for example, you might cherry-pick first level of fighter for the weapon and armor proficiency, for the D10 hit dice, and for the extra feat, or, like, the ultimate cherry-pick class in 3rd edition was the ranger. Because you get 2-up fighting for free, you would get, the favorite enemy, which wasn't great. You basically did it for the 2-up fighting stuff. So what's kind of cool, though, to see is that you actually have advantages and disadvantages versus single-class monks. So the advantages are you would have better hit points, because half of your classes you're rolling D10s instead of D8s. Better base attack, because the fighter gets +1 base attack every level, whereas the monk gets +2 to base attack for every 3 levels. Proficient with martial weapons, 6 more feats because of the fighter bonus feats, and access specialization. The downside is that you get worse unarmed damage, your AC bonus would be lower, and your speed would be lower than a single-class monk, and no access to the most fantastic monk abilities. Weaker reflex and will saves because the fighter class only has good fortitude, whereas the monk has good everything. And then fighter levels detract from ranks in monk class skills. So this is a good actual, like, example of why multi-classing is, like, I still don't like it, but the truth of the matter is that generally speaking, you're giving up quite a bit to get the few good things that you might get from the multi-class. Like, the one thing I'll say about 3rd edition over the 5e multi-classing is that, like, things like your base attack or your saving throws, like, that was based off of your class levels, not your total character levels. Versus in 5th edition, like, your proficiency bonus is always dictated by your total character level and not by your, individual class levels. In 3rd edition, if you had multiple magic, like spell casting, you had to prepare each class separately, based off of the levels that they were, which was less than what you would have, versus having the multi-classed spell-casting ability that they do in 5e. So I think 5e multi-classing I like less than 3rd edition, but anyway, so yeah, multi-class combos. Again, you're giving up stuff to get, like, you're giving up things to get things, I guess. So anyway, Manual of the Planes. That book was really good. I wish I had bought it when it first came out. I did acquire it about 5 or 6 years ago, though. City of the Ages, Paris. So, okay, so this is the actual real-world Paris and how you can incorporate it into a role-playing game. The catacombs beneath is actually, that would make an amazing, adventure location to go through. We get, like, the city map, Notre Dame. There's some cool stuff in there. I kind of like that. Although, again, I don't know why you would have Paris in this issue instead of having, like, I don't know, like Kyoto or, like, some, like, actual Asian city in the Oriental Adventures themed issue of Dragon, but I guess. Foes of the Stormweather 2, Villains of Black Wolf. I don't know what that is. Maybe, I don't know if that's a book series or a video game series. It's not Silicon Sorcery, so I don't know. There's like some druid options, though. An NPC. The Shunned Street. Oh, what is this? Okay. Elminster's Guide to the Realms. Okay. Is this a location? I guess it must be. It's got some traps and stuff in there, symbol of death. Oh, yeah. I actually like the artwork for that. That's pretty cool looking. Bazaar of the Bazaar, the Cups and Chalices, Alchemist Glass, Dwarven Runestein. Dwarven Runesteins are squat and heavy mugs engraved with images of dragons, bears, axes, and dwarven runes. The steins are shorter and wider than most human drinking vessels, with handles molded to fit a dwarf's sturdy grip. The runes are an ancient form of dwarven writing, each describing a specific trait venerated by dwarves. The user of the stein can invoke a rune to transform any liquid contained within, and then drink it to gain magical benefits. The transformed liquid works only for the person who invoked the rune, and the liquid must be imbibed in the same round. Okay, so you can get bravery, resistance to fear or remove fear, endurance as the spell or the potion, fortitude rune, for it causes the liquid in the stein to have the same effects as the potion of aid. Okay, so it basically replicates potions. That's actually pretty cool. Skill rune, strength rune. That's interesting. So for my King Kong game, I made some pre-gen characters, and one of them is a Dwarven Cleric, and he's taken a vow of sobriety for his order, so he has a tankard of sobriety. So basically, anything that he drinks out of it, he doesn't gain like the intoxicating effects of. So, like he said, he wouldn't get drunk, but he didn't say he wouldn't drink. So he can basically drink as much as he wants, and it's to him, it's no different than drinking water. So I wanted to create like some of the mundane, like common magic items I wanted to use to kind of tell a story for the characters, and I just really like the idea that like the dwarf cleric joins an order that forbids intoxication. So that's his workaround, so he can still drink. Alright, and then we got another full 2-page Nodwick, which is awesome. Chainmail the Knolls of Naresh, the Abyssal Maw. Naresh was one of the factions that I collected a decent amount for. I got like the stuff in the starter set, and I picked up a few of the other like Knolls, and I had the Werewolf, which I really like that mini. So yeah, again, like this is... Chainmail did get a little bit of support, but it didn't get much outside of like actual magazines and stuff like that. I really wish they would have gone more into like this game, because they basically end up canceling it right after it wins like Best Game of the Year awards, and which is a real shame. But we've got the Pioneer Dwarves. I miss Chainmail. Such a great game. Ability combos. I'm not going to go into that. That feels more like min-maxing. Alright, so Sage Advice. Alright, I don't want to go through too many of these, but I always like to see if I can find something in here and see if I can, like, answer it properly. So, the Forgotten Realms campaign thing. This is a book I've not looked at in quite some time. Alright, let's take a look at this one here, just to see. The description of Zastam on page 208 of the Forgotten Realms campaign setting shows he has up to 16th level spells, but his intelligence is only 22, meaning he should only be able to cast up to 12th level spells, right? Is there some sort of exception to the rule governing... So that's actually interesting, because you had to have an intelligence of 10 plus the spell level. But I think for those higher level, those are epic level spell slots, and I think they're only available for like casting like meta magic feat spells. So the actual spell itself doesn't change, but the slot does. That's actually a really good question. I don't know how they would have handled that. So actually, Zastam's description says he has 60 level spell slots available. That's not an error. You can have the ability to cast spells at that level. As noted in the previous question, you can put a lower level spell slot into a higher level one. Okay, so yeah, that's basically what it was. It was used like lower level spells. But essentially, like with the epic level spell slots, they were there so that you could put meta magic feats on spells. So, okay, that actually works out, I guess. Okay, what feats given in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting rulebook can be a fighter bonus feat? Oh, they'd be marked. Alright, Monsters Compendium. Monsters of Faerun give several new abilities for liches. When I'm creating a lich for my game, how do I decide which abilities to assign? Will any of these abilities change this year? So those were templates, weren't they? Were they specific templates? Or I think they replaced abilities. When creating a lich, you just pick the abilities you want to add. Every 2 abilities increase the lich CR by... Okay. I don't actually know these quite as well. So it's kind of cool to see some ones here. that I'm not as familiar with because they never really came up in my game. Does the natural armor bonus of a creature that happens to be a familiar stack with the natural armor bonus received for being a familiar? So the Tome of Blood would seem to indicate so. Some text on page 11 in Tome of Blood, however, would appear to indicate otherwise. In other words, what would the AC for a pseudo-dragon familiar acquired with the improved familiar feat for a 7th level sorcerer? Again, I've never created familiars. But generally speaking, bonuses of the same type don't stack with one another. You would take the better of the two. But if one's listed as an improvement, then you would add it to it. So increase the pseudo-dragon's natural armor by +4, just as you would for any 7th level familiar. For a pseudo-dragon, that yields a final AC of 22. The text on page 11 merely points out that this increased natural armor is not any kind of magical bonus. So yeah, it's an increase, not a bonus type. Okay. Yeah, this is actually pretty cool. Sage advice because I'm not as familiar with these rules questions as I have been with some of the other ones, because this is very specific to certain things. But I mean, I was right about the Zastan because it is using lower level spells for adding meta magic feats stuff onto it. Yeah, okay. I mean, that was actually the Sage advice is one of my favorite things to kind of look at. I guess we do get a bit more, but we're gonna end it there. Though there's those crystal dice. Oh my god! All right, so I forget exactly how, but I had a friend who he got like the D4. It might have even come in like an issue of Dragon or something like that with like a subscription. But yeah, these crystal dice, like the D4 was fine, and most like the lower ones, but like the D20. Like this one here, like how are you gonna roll that? It's based on which side's facing you. Like you can pretty easily control which side is facing you. I'm not a fan of these dice, to be honest. The D4 was fine because it wasn't pointed; it was easier to pick up. But I mean, I'd rather roll these than trying to figure out that bloody thing. Oh my god, Gauntlet Dark Legacy, Silicon Sorcery. This is really Dark Legacy. Yeah, I think Dark Legacy. Buddy and I were playing it on the N64, and so this is some magic items that you can put into your game from that. So the red potion, so you can resist elements fire. Or you can throw it to create a fireball. Blue potion, you can use it to resist electricity or a 20-foot radius, basically like a lightning version of fireball. Green potion, you can resist acid, or you can throw it for cloud kill. The yellow potion, protection from evil, or you can throw it for Circle of Doom. Gauntlet, amulet, so amulet of fire. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I like the Silicon Sorcery as well. That's really cool. That's a really cool subject here. Or a really cool series of articles. I don't think they continue doing it too much longer, though. Some PC portraits. And, what is this? Your game hunting days are over. Okay. Go to Wizards of the Coast or to the Gamekeeper game stores. Get all your favorite... Oh, okay, just a game chain. This was definitely done by the guy who created Zagonia for the caption contest. What's new with Phil and Dixie? I was never as huge a fan of these comics as I was like the Nodwick and stuff. And then we got the Pool of Radiance, Runes of Myth Draenor, the video game. So there we go. That was issue number 289 of Dragon Magazine. Just sort of a quick flip through there. There's some neat stuff in here. The prestige classes were interesting, and I kind of like the fact that they weren't as cut and dry as to like which class you would start with to get this, because there were some things where you needed a decent base attack bonus, but then you also needed a high number of skills. So I kind of like some of those again. Prestige classes, I think, work best for creating NPCs rather than being player character stuff. Because for player characters, you're giving up so much from your regular class progression for what you're getting for the prestige class. So I'm not a big fan of it from that perspective, but I think it can make some really cool, unique NPCs. So overall, kind of a cool issue. I like the leveling up, like dedicating experience points to your weapon. To be able to control which abilities it gains and stuff like that. I think that's a better idea than the Legacy one that they did years later. So overall, a pretty interesting issue of Dragon. I'm going to go through and actually read like the history of the ninja article at some point, because that's something I'm really intrigued by. But there you go. Did you guys get issue number 289 back in the day? Were you running games using the Oriental Adventures book for 3rd edition D&D? And if so, what were some of your favorite memories from that? Anyway, thank you all so very much for your time. I appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.